Fantastic. All right.
So for the RIAA 2018 year-end report, the third year in a row showed that overall recorded music revenue grew by double digits in the US, up to 12% and amounting to $9.8 billion. The growth was due to streaming, which was the case last year as well, and paid subscriptions in particular rested at an average of 50.2 million over the course of a year. Money from streaming escalated by 30% year over year to reach 7.4 billion, making up 75% of total revenue brought in from the music industry. And yes, that does include virtually every kind of subscription service that has to do with music streaming. So again, music streaming itself made up 75% of the total revenue brought in by the music industry. Subscriptions to on-demand streaming services remained the largest driving factor for growth. The revenue itself grew by 32% to 5.4 billion, and included in that figure 774 million from limited tier revenues. Now, you may notice that they take into account the year-over-year growth and monitor how the average tends to shift. For paid subscription services, the average grew 42% when compared to 2017, exceeding 50 million for the first time in history. This also indicates to the RIAA that on average, over 1 million new subscriptions were added on a monthly basis. Revenues from on-demand streaming services that are supported by advertising streamed more than 400 billion songs to site and app visitors. Sorry, I should have done that like Donald Trump. Streamed more than 400 billion songs. 400 billion. Billions and billions of songs to site and app visitors in the US, which was a growth of 15% annually. What's most interesting is that this made up for more than 1/3 of total streaming, yet only provided roughly 8% to the total revenue for the year. For digital and customized radio services, which includes things like Pandora, SiriusXM, satellite radio, iHeartRadio, and internet radio services, we see a growth of 32% to year over year to $1.2 billion. This is the first time this category has exceeded $1 billion in 1 year. Now, sound exchange distributions rose 46% to a record of $953 million. Alternative ad-supported streaming revenues comprised 21% of the income from this category at $251 million. And now we get into digital downloads, which, to be clear, come to us in two forms. We have tethered downloads and permanent downloads. Tethered downloads are when you pay to gain access to the music, but you are not able to remove that music from the actual service you are using. Whereas permanent downloads are when you fully download the song or collection of songs, and you can burn it to a disk, put it on an external device, or anything else under the sun. Despite the fact that we have more opportunities than ever for digital downloads and new service emerging from the competitive market, this category declined for the 6th consecutive year to $1.04 billion. Permanent downloads from albums dropped by 28% to 490 million. Downloads accounted for 11% of revenues for 2018, down from 42% back in 2013. So as you can see, a massive decline in percentage for the permanent downloads. Now for our long ignored but never forgotten soldiers and footworkers, the physical products. I'm rooting for you guys. I am happy to say I contributed to this in a larger way than most. I am somewhat of a CD freak in a sense. Although there are things within standard record contracts that take more of the artist's money than necessary, I feel as though I'm doing some good by purchasing the physical product. It's also just because I'm a stubborn a-hole like that, and I'm stuck in my ways. Anyway, revenue from physical products declined 23% from last year to $1.15 billion. From the perspective of estimated retail value, CDs fell 34% to $698 million. Sadly, this is the first time that CDs have fallen below $1 billion since 1986. Though, as some would have predicted, the sale of vinyl is really the only physical product number that increased. From last year, it's up 8% and is at its highest level since 1988. By value, vinyl made up more than 1/3 of revenues from physical formats. And that is pretty much all the report has to offer. I will be sure to post that on the podcast page of musicmensch.com so you can look at it for yourself. It has wonderful graphics and visuals as well as a table summary. But more importantly, we can't just rest on the numbers. We need to act as if this is our data coming in, because in many ways it is. In order to make an impact like the big three make each year, meaning the big three corporations, we have to think and act like them.